strips are pliers, the pliers for a wrench for a hammer, hammer's everything else. It just don't seem to make much difference. I sure do like him, but it's hard.
That's the second episode. So
Number 2.
episode number 2.
Number 2.
Well, hey.
All right, we're good. We're
Sorry,
all
I'm a little bit late. I was beating off the ladies at the door.
That's not a lady you were beating off.
Yeah. 100%.
So we got a few drinks. We got some friends.
We got an extra guy tonight.
Look
Got
at
an
this
extra
guy.
guy.
This is our special guest, Stewart Royal. And by special guest, I mean
Very
wink, wink.
special. You can't use those words anymore.
Oh, that's not the
Oh.
Now, Stewart was kind enough to drive in from west of Fort Worth
Get on the
to
mic, Jeremy.
come down there. He came down
There
just
you
to can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, Stewart was kind enough to drive down from out west, northwest to see us tonight. So welcome.
Welcome, Stuart.
And so as is our tradition, we just kind of bullshit for a little bit and we just see what happens.
We should have had the mics on outside.
We should have. That was the goal.
Before they
That
let
was-
us into this place.
But we're back. We did week 1, and the interesting thing about week 1 is we got a lot of feedback. And people, first thing people are like, "Well, your logo sucks.
Yeah, it's bad.
You guys are
That's
ugly,"
shit.
and we're like, "Why do we need so much feedback? This
Yeah,
is
it's
like
start your own podcast. What are you talking about?
So I brought Stuart down. We'll see what kind of feedback we get off of this one. We might, if we don't go to jail, we'll be in good shape. So
Yeah.
Well, when I heard I was going to be on the podcast, I watched the first one, and I was pretty impressed.
Oh,
And-
That's not what I expected. I thought he was going to say, I figured
oh no,
there was no way it could be any worse if I showed up. So
I figured it was going to be a freaking train wreck. But it actually turned out and looked and sounded pretty damn good.
oh, thank you.
I'm
We
impressed.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
Well, we're impressed with how people responded.
yeah.
We've been talking about it for a while, and I think some people thought maybe we were just talking about it, and then we did it, and then I got mostly all positive feedback. Nobody told me to die or go to hell or to stop. So I think it was good.
To your face.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair
that's
enough.
true. That's true. But it's a good sign. I think it's a. So we're off, and
We picked up a couple sponsors.
we did pick up a couple sponsors. We got
Night Fire Specialist is our new sponsor. Matt Hill.
Fire,
over
Matt
at
Hill.
Night Fire. We love Matt. He's our podcast mentor.
He is.
And he's done a lot of good work. He's even decided to be an affiliate of ours.
I know. Well, thank you, Matt, for being an affiliate of ours. We love you, and we don't care what you say about us. We still love you anyway. So
That's
it's
We don't care how much you hate our logo, and we don't care how many you send us that has like a Punisher head on it.
I actually, yeah. So there seems to be this idea that if you're in an oil field, you have to have a red, white, and blue Punisher logo, or some sort of maybe
Crossbones,
some
made
sort
out
of
hard hat and
yeah.
sledgehammers.
take on the Brownings horns and
Where's the fire? Where's the black?
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah, fire.
the red and blue. Yeah.
We won't talk about the fire. Jeremy did make an attempt at a new logo, and
here's the idea is like, when they came up with the Nike swoosh, somebody was in there saying, well, it doesn't look like a shoe. And it was like, well,
it's
hey,
not-
you got to start
it's a
somewhere.
Nike swoosh. But what Jeremy did was he took a derrick and he put a mic on top of it, and then he lit the mic on fire.
Hey.
And it looked like a flare, but there was a microphone in there. Anyway, it was really bad.
I'm in marketing, and I give people what they want.
And what I wanted was for him to put that away.
Yeah, hey, take it back.
Exactly what I thought. It may have been somebody with a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, so it was a fun week, letting everybody check out the first show and kind of see how things were going. And we got lots of advice. Like some people said, oh, you got to get a better format. You got to I understand that. Like we have an idea where, maybe there's certain questions that we ask as we go through the show and stuff. But ultimately what this is supposed to be is a tailgate chat.
Exactly. That's
It
it.
just goes where it goes.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
my thought.
No, I totally agree. So one of the reasons I wanted to have Stuart here tonight is we've done just that, and we've done a lot more than that too, which we'll see how that goes. But we've done we've been out there, and so having that conversation, there's no rules. You don't really know what's going to happen. Hell, it could be gold, it may not. We'll just see how it goes. But Stuart's here, so it can't be too bad. So Stuart, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us I might tee it a little bit up. Stuart and I go way back. We've known each other for a long time.
2010.
2010.
That Jeremy made a big impression of Stuart remembers the exact year that they met. So I can only assume what was happening when they met, right?
So we were pretty involved with the Kansas Independent Oil and Gas Operators up north for a while, and had a lot of good times up there. But just over the years, just been good friends, and happy to have you down. So tell me a little bit about
Sure.
where you come from and
Sure.
how-
I started in the oil and gas business in November of 2009. I was previously in the real estate business, and before that in the utility metering business. So electric, water, gas meters, basically connecting those via radio to a central host computer, send that information back to a server. Now what you know is smart metering. So we started one of the first smart metering products in the United States. Exited that business, did real estate for about 2 years, and got approached by a board member of a company named Wellkeeper. And they did something very analogous in the oil and gas space to what I had done in the utility space. I felt like I could take on the world. And so I did it and went to work as a sales rep for Wellkeeper in 2009. Still incidentally worked for pretty much same exact company, doing the same exact thing I've been doing for now my 14th year.
Whoa.
So,
Wow.
you never hear of a guy having the same job for 14 years,
Not in the oil field.
Not,
not in the oil field,
you beat me to it.
sales.
Not in
So,
sales.
That's true too.
so it's been, oil business has been extremely generous with me. I can't imagine doing anything else in my life, frankly. So
I hear you.
Welcome.
I work for a company called Expanse Electrical. We're a full service electrical contractor. So, I mean, if it's got a wire attached to it, we do it. We're licensed in 15 states, and I primarily work in the Permian Basin and in South Texas.
All right. Look for that Expanse logo when they pay the invoice.
So
Stuart, I do want to ask you a story, and I hope you remember it. That I like it, and we can, if we don't like it, we'll just cut it. But you and I a long time ago had a story about like what is it like to be an oil man, and you had a guy who told you, "Hell, Stuart, you're an oil man." So tell me that story. You remember that story?
And so when I first got in the oil business, I was very intimidated. Had never been in it. My family's never been in it. No one I know had been in it, and so I didn't really know what an oil man was or what the oil patch was. And I, after I'd been in it for a year or two, I really started to get a passion for the business and the people, more importantly.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I loved being able to walk into somebody's office, have a discussion with them, shake his hand, and walk out of that office with a deal. You know?
Right.
Didn't have to go through contracting, didn't have to go through those type of things. And so, I really fell in love with the business, but I felt like as a service provider that I wasn't really an oil man, that I really wasn't part of the community. And, years went on, and, I would tell that story to a lot of the old timers that I did business with, and people that have been in the business for 40 or 50 years. And finally, one of them sat me down and said, "Stu, you are as important to the oil and gas business as the guy that's drilling the well." He goes, "Because without you, we couldn't do any of this."
Right.
So in my eyes, you are an oil man.
Right on.
And that validated my existence, my career, and why I was here. So
Yep.
That's great.
Well, no, I wanted to share that because that makes a difference. That's what we're here for, right? That's what we're doing this for. Is that like you? I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the business, and it's just like let's bring that to everybody. And it's just not technical, not SPE, but just real deal oil field.
Well, the oil field is one of the few places left in the world where your word still means something, and it can make or break you in this profession. If your word's no good, you're no good.
That's true.
And it'll come back to haunt you. So
and that's still true to this day, even with technology and the way contracting works with operators now, it is still true. You screw somebody over, they're going to tell somebody, they're going to tell somebody, they're going to tell somebody, and it's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
And vice versa as well. You do right by somebody, you keep your word, and it carries just as much, if not more.
I agree.
As an example, one of my customers right now that I had met out in the Permian 3 or 4 years ago, took a while to get them, really hooked and, sold and on, but I brought them on. The next thing I know, this customer's father worked for another operator. He called me. He said, "Hey, my son said that you're doing a great job. I'd like you to come out and do, look at some work for us."
Sure.
That goes on. Then his cousin or his nephew calls me and says, "Hey, Stu, I've seen what you did for my cousin and my, I guess, uncle. I want you to come look at our stuff and do that."
Yeah.
Great.
That's why that's
Another one out of that whole family circle came to me, and we started doing work with. So now I do work with 4 different operators of guys that are all related. And it all was because word of mouth
Yep.
and the job that we did.
That's the way it works. That's this business.
That's
So
it.
one of the things that we do is, the recording parts are always kind of a little bit of a shit show, but I like it, right? And so it's
Yeah,
kind of the raw. It's just
Keep
kind of like
keep
the
mics rolling
for
pick up all
the
junk.
so for our subscribers and the people who are subscribing to the website, kind of following us on all of our social. We give you a little sneak peek, and you get to see like the outtakes before their outtakes, and
Yeah.
so thank you for being online.
You can watch this live right now.
Take a
Yeah,
look there. We got a
got
few.
some
We got a
there.
few. So
Oh, crap.
and so for those of you out there, thank you for joining, and we're happy y'all are here. I'm seeing the grid on Zoom go up a little bit, so I like that. And so
Yeah.
we still have no one in the bar, but that's okay. We'll
That's
you know
all right.
that's all right. We'll
You
work through that.
know, it's Monday night, guys. I don't know if you've realized that or not.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. When we thought, well, nothing better than just getting really drunk on a Monday.
I have nothing wrong with an excuse to drink on a Monday night.
I asked her, I said, "We want to come down? We'll have some drinks, talk online." He's like, "Yeah, I'll come down." I said, "We can do it online." He's like, "No, we gotta get down."
Yeah, just wouldn't do it justice, you know.
Yeah. So
I guess
yeah.
we could take a pause and just thank all of our sponsors. We thank Knight for joining us. But
yeah.
let's go ahead and send US Oil Chem. They're one of our first sponsors, and they're still with us. Thank you, Matt Block with US Oil Chem.
Yep.
We got Calibri with Wolf Regener. He's one of our sponsors. Do we pick anybody else up this week?
Really, the only one that we need to remember is our hosts. It's
Humble.
1886 Humble Backyard. Come on out. It's great location. Lots of, if you like deck space, they got
a lot of
deck
deck
space.
Outdoor room, man.
Yeah,
There are,
Outdoor space.
you know, if you were in Karate Kid and you had to sand the floor, you'd be sanded for a while.
Paint the fence.
I don't care how good your karate is afterwards, but it's going to be a lot of work. Anyway, thank you to 1886 Humble Backyard for inviting us out again and having us out here. We love y'all.
Didn't really know we were coming.
Yeah, that's true. It's they
They
tend
started
to
bringing in a microphone, and the big guy that works at the bar was like looking at it, giving us
like,
dirty
hmm.
looks. We're
We-
like, oh yeah, Becca told us.
I think we got the stink eye today.
No, I actually live in a town called Whiskey Flats.
I don't know where Whiskey Flats.
Well,
is.
if you do you know where Fort Worth is?
Yes.
So if you go southwest of Fort Worth towards Granbury.
Wow, you drove all the way from there.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
That's
Well,
my
our-
boy.
Our corporate office is right here off Dairy Ashford and I-10. So I
Okay.
figure I'll
It's
go
gonna
in
get
and
out of work early.
I'll go in and stop by tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know where Whiskey Flats, but I'd like to live there. I don't know where it's at. But I'd love to be there.
Well, it's changed quite a bit. It used to be on the county line where you couldn't have, that part was dry. This was not dry.
Okay.
So that's where all the bars,
Oh,
liquor stores, jiggle
They
joints.
still do that in Texas, some don't they?
Oh,
There's a few.
The
very
dry
few.
counties.
Yeah, there's only like a couple like up in Northwest Texas towards the Panhandle, but yeah.
I think for a minute in Tomball, there was I had to like join a
Yeah.
Mexican joint to get a
That's
margarita
the way-
or something.
that's the way
Yeah.
it used to be.
Yeah. So
Interesting. There
I'm a-
was a place. There was like a speakeasy place in one of the towns I worked in
Yeah.
Texas, where you had to like go, you actually had to go like knock on the door.
but it was like a legit speakeasy, not like
yeah.
the.
I don't remember. I wish I
Was
could
that a
remember.
speakeasy or was that a
Was that
It was not a rub.
Are you sure it wasn't in Whiskey Flats?
It might have been. I maybe. I don't remember where.
Now,
it was
what's the
at.
difference between Whiskey Flats and then Natty Flats is a different place? Then what's their deal?
Well, Natty Flats is out west, like
That's
towards-
further west,
yeah,
further west,
towards Mineral
Natty
Wells.
like
Okay,
natural
yeah.
light flats.
Yeah, no, it
I don't know
stands
the
for
story
something
about it.
else, Yeah.
I've heard it, and so that one may make the cut.
What do you do for fun, Stuart? What's your pastime?
Well, so I don't have very many hobbies. I like to drink.
Okay,
All
I
right.
like to entertain.
Okay.
And I think that would
those
be
things go hand in hand.
We might have found our third host.
Yeah. That's incidentally how Jeremy and I met. We, when I first got in this business, 2009, 2010, I want to get involved in the Kansas oil and gas market. And I looked up this thing called Cuyahoga, Kansas Independent Oil and Gas Association.
Yeah, that's it.
Run by a very wonderful woman named Kelly Rains.
Oh, Kelly Rains. Let's hear for Kelly
Shout out
Rains.
for Kelly.
And,
5 viewers.
and I started talking to her about exhibiting, and she said that the exhibit hall was all filled up. And so
That is so Kelly.
yeah.
Twice as much, buddy.
Well, it actually was.
You're shit out of luck.
But hey, she came up with a great idea. She goes, all these other service companies have hospitality rooms. Would you be interested in hosting a hospitality room? And I thought, man, what a better opportunity to get in front of your customers.
Yep.
Don't go in an exhibit hall where they can, may or may not come in. Have some drinks, have some food, have some fun down there, and get these people down there. And that's what I did. And Wellkeeper, the company I formerly worked for, hosted a hospitality room up there for about 4 years. The first year that we did it in 2010, I think there were 4 other hospitality rooms.
Yep, it was brand new.
It was
well, I don't know if it was brand new.
Brand new.
No, but it was, there was limited. Yeah.
People had kind of quit doing it. We were just coming off, kind of the gas bust of 2008.
True.
So, there wasn't a lot of interest. The next year after we did our hospitality room, I think there were 13 hospitality rooms.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of came at it with something different. I wanted more than just a hospitality room. I wanted a destination, and so
experience.
We brought high-end booze. We brought all sorts of stuff.
Did not think that was going to end with an S. That ooh was carried out really long there.
Those ideas have been thrown around, but we always had a great time there, to the point where we got in trouble at least once
every year.
Twice. I mean, so I think I don't remember the correct sequence of this, but one year I came up with the idea of bringing a fog machine.
Okay.
So
I'm going to jump in here real quick. Now you got to remember too, this is not your SPE hospitality. Hey, we're going to go over and have a nice little cocktail reception. This is the best way I can describe it is fraternity house hazing. Okay. So we'll just leave it there, and then we'll see how they.
Well, imagine how the conference is held in a hotel in Wichita. We won't get into that, but then when everybody's got guest rooms everywhere. And the hospitality rooms are kind of close to the guest rooms.
Right.
They're literally, they are guest rooms where they just remove the furniture. They let us bring in whatever we want. How they brokered that deal, I've never seen it anywhere else in my life, but it's a beautiful thing. And there are virtually no rules.
Let's get back to the fog machine.
Yeah. Anyway, so bring the fog machine.
Look, we're going to spice this up. We're going to bring a fog machine in. I forget the theme. Great thing about Cuyahoga is they had a theme every year.
That's true.
And most of these trade shows don't have a theme, but they had like a theme every year.
People dressing up, all of it. Yeah.
The fog machine had something to do with whatever. So anyway, I bring the fog machine down there. I had tested it outside, thinking, this is going to be no big freaking deal, whatever.
Yeah.
We put it in, I guess, the conference goes, and then people come to the hospitality room. I guess it was kind of later in the afternoon or early evening. And I go ahead and hit the fog machine. Well, I don't know if you guys have ever turned on a fog machine indoors.
No.
Don't ever do it. So, it's not like it just disappears. It's like liquid glycerin or like vapor glycerin. And it spurted out, and it not only filled up our room, it filled up the entire hallway of the hotel until the fire alarm went off.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Set off the fire alarm. For the woman, the DoubleTree.
Please tell me the
coordinated all that.
I do remember we'll make nameless, but yeah.
No.
Oh, thank God.
Said no more smoke machine.
Come on, what's the problem?
Well, hey, I made a name for myself.
So remember when I said there were no rules? Well, Stewart found the first one.
No rules except no fog machines. Only rule.
But hey, the important thing was I made a name for Wellkeeper. I made a name for myself.
Yeah.
And
you guys should have started selling fog machines. I think that would have been a hit.
Well, what was great about the Wellkeeper hospitality room was that it was they all do the same thing, but it's like this show, right? It's just groups of oil and gas types that come in and they drink, and you will get young, old, all of it. I mean, I've seen other shows in Kansas similar where you will see them pass the bottle of Fireball and it'll go to grandma and everybody in the room, and it'll 20 people, and it's just nobody even bats an eye. Do you
remember when our older friend used to bring his homemade wine?
Moonshine.
Oh yeah.
Was it moonshine? It would bring us.
We're not sure yet.
This is, a good friend of ours. I'll let him remain nameless, but he would, he had to be in his 80s, 82 at that time, and he would bring his own moonshine into my hospitality. He would bring his moonshine.
Was it good?
No. But you drank it anyway. In return, he had a charity
Okay.
And he would, at the same time that he gave me moonshine, he would give me his charity ticket thing and say,
So it wasn't
Stewart-
free moonshine.
no,
What else is that in?
we're counting on your support for this, so
Hey, I tell you what, down in McAllister, Oklahoma, there's a lot of moonshine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A lot of. It's not homemade wine. It's
called meth.
moonshine. Yeah. Well, that's not wrong, but the one I'm referring to is peach flavored.
I like peach. I like
I love peach
a little apple
moonshine.
pie. Hey, by the way, we were talking. So last week we talked about cherry pie on the rigs.
I couldn't find a cherry pie.
Oh, thank God!
Oh, you were warned too. It was just like, don't bring it.
Don't bring a cherry pie. I would have left. I'd have walked out. The lights would have fell over.
You know, I actually had a buddy of mine from Alaska, JB. JB couldn't call in because he's working because of time change, but he verified Darvin's bananas on boats. And now JB's a commercial fisherman in Alaska, and he's like, "Yep, nope, no bananas on boats. That's
bananas on
the
boats.
thing."
Banana on boats, I know, but I've never heard of the cherry thing.
Oh my gosh!
Is that like that's got to be on a rig?
It's a frac.
It's a
thing.
rig.
I don't even know if it's a rig thing.
No, I've heard
definitely a frac thing.
Yeah.
Definitely a frac thing.
Now Kelly Rains, the who actually works for me but also has been around forever. She was texting me that same night. She's like, "And virgins, no virgins on a frac site or on a well site." I was like,
oh man, that
well,
was
how
stretch
did- I was like-
Schlumberger
I was
down.
like,
Just a joke. Just a joke.
oh, fucking,
That's
oh, that's good. That's good. So, but yeah, we're here tonight, and yeah, it's a nice night in Houston, Texas. It's not 90, but it's not
Feels
60 either. It's not too bad. Yeah,
It's
So-
it's definitely better than when the sun was shining on us. So I like the
Yeah.
I like the OnlyFans lights better than the.
That's true. So we've rigged up some lights. You can kind of see some rays shining down. We're still working on that part, but we'll get that figured out.
I'm wearing
But,
a hat, so you can't see the bald spot anymore.
yeah, after I couldn't retouch and give Lloyd more hair on the last episode, he
watching that.
decided to wear
Man, that's a lot of baldness. So it was a little self-conscious. So,
we're talking about awkwardness of getting started in the oil and gas business. I mean,
yeah.
tell me your story. I
No,
mean,
my story. So here's how I got started. You shouldn't ask me that question because
Oh,
I got a
shit.
story about that now.
No,
No, but
we're on a timer.
yeah, okay. All right, start the timer. No, it's actually a pretty good. I like the story. So I was in the Army for 4 years, and when I got out of the Army, I went to college because I learned in the Army that the only way to actually make a living was to get a college degree. Because I did the same thing as the officers in the Army, but they made a lot more money than I did, and the only difference between me and them is that they had a degree. So I got out and I went to Kansas State University and went to school, and it's a whole long story, but I can tell you by the end of it, I put myself through college. I put my wife and I put ourselves through college. We both paid for it ourselves, no parent support. I was already married when I started in college. And so when I graduated, I had a 2.67 GPA.
awesome.
Yeah.
Scholar.
2.67. Now, it wasn't because I was partying. It wasn't because I was it wasn't from screwing off. It's because I'm not very smart and it was really hard.
You're perfect for the oil
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. And also in addition to that, we put ourselves through college. So I was working full time while I was going to college. So
Yep.
I was just proud to be done. And so I interviewed with a whole bunch of companies. Nobody was interested. My GPA excluded me from most interviews. And then Halliburton came to campus. And I went to meet with a gentleman named Bob Dodson, who was the sales manager for Oklahoma, and Perry Schusterman was the secondary. He was the engineering lead for Burns Flat area. So Bob Dodson, he kind of sounded like Conway Twitty whenever he would talk, right? Anybody that knows Bob knows that's true. He's a kind of a smaller guy, but he looks and sounds just like Conway Twitty.
All right.
And so I'm sitting out, I got there early and I'm sitting out in the hallway listening to the kid before me's interview. And they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite class in school?" And the kid's like, "Oh, I like differential equations. And I like, biochemistry." And that's all bullshit. Nobody likes those classes. Nobody likes differential equations. If you do, you're like a mathematician. You walk around barefoot and that's what you do
Right.
for a living. Right.
Or,
So,
or you're doing a podcast.
yeah. Okay. Are you a mathematician? I apologize if you're a mathematician.
I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure no.
So anyway, so this kid's just lying to him, right? Like none of that's true.
Right.
And so I come in to meet with Bob and Perry, and Bob's flipping through my resume, and he's like, "How you doing, Mr. Fussel?" And I said, "I'm doing all right. I appreciate the interview." He's like, "So I see here you put down you got a 2.67 GPA." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You mind if I ask you why the hell you put that on your resume?" And I said, "Well, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Dodson, because I earned every point of that 2.67.
I'm proud of it.
I said, "I'm proud of that shit." I said, He's like, well, what was your favorite class in school? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you again. I don't like any of them. I just saw it as a means to the end. I was in the Army for 4 years, knew I had to go to college, and I'm just looking for a job.
You're hired.
You're hired.
That's exactly what he said. He put my resume down. He looked at me. He said, I think I got a job for you. And he hired me. And I was hired with Halliburton. That's how I got hired at Halliburton, was because I showed up with a 2.67 and was completely proud of it. So shout out to Bob Dodson. Thank you. One of the best bosses I ever had. My first boss. I'll tell you, so after Bob hired me in my first interview, he still had me come out for a second interview where I actually got signed up for all the training and stuff I was going to have to do, got my training schedule. And he brought me to Duncan, Oklahoma, and we drove up to Marlow. They were fracking a job in Marlow, and we parked and we're walking in, and it was probably a 80 barrel a minute job. Probably had like 40,000 horsepower, 42,000 horsepower, and no lie, we get out of the car, we're walking into location, and they started firing up. They were priming up, and I was like, I was a tank mechanic in the Army, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty freaking cool, man. And so we get to the van, and they start fracking, and so they're doing they got broke down, they're up to rate, and I mean, all those diesels were just bellowing, man, and pumping, and all the guys are talking on the radio, and beating shit with hammers, and I'm like, this is my job right here. I was hooked, man. That first trip out, man, I was a frac guy.
I think that I would tell anybody who wants to be in the oil field, just spend some time. And this is a thing that we see now is that young engineers coming out of school, or even just people want to go in the oil field. They're behind the screen. And I tell everybody I can, I'm like, get out in the field, even if you're just a tourist. And I say it all the time. I've been a tourist, but I've been a good one.
You know what really hooked me on the oil field after I'd been in it, earlier was, well, there's a lease operator just outside of Lamesa, Texas, which is just north of Midland. And, he was my second customer ever in the oil and gas business. Very gruff, very old man, easily in his 60s when I met him, maybe late 50s. And I go out to his office, I'd already sold his boss something. And so I had to go out and meet him. I go out there and, I go out in the trailer and, I walk into his work trailer, and I walk in, the level of smoke in that trailer. Hey, this isn't that long ago.
Yeah,
this is a couple of years ago.
No, you can still find some smoke in the trailer.
Like smoke, cigarette hanging out his mouth, typing on a computer, hunting and pecking, making sure that, he's got everything. What do you want, Stu? What do you want? And I said, can I have a cigarette with you, sir?
Smart.
You smoke?
He does now.
Okay.
I didn't before then.
Figured I better start.
And he sure as shit gave me like a Marlboro Red 110 and put it in my mouth. He's like, now let's talk about this shit.
But that is, we'll tell you that is the thing that people that'll bring you in.
He had been in that field for 26 years through 5 different operators. Wow.
That
5 different operators.
When you don't get transitioned, you're good. You're
just nobody knew that field like he did because he lived down the street.
Well, and that is the thing that we see is like the old guys. I've heard stories of you got tons of data, and then technology is great, but best advice I ever heard was like, you want to know about a player, you want to know about a zone, go sit to that Casey's General Store and see those good old boys that are drinking coffee. Just listen to what they're talking about. That's who knows what's going on. That's the guy who's going to tell you there's H2S across the road and not over here. And it's a lot of oil men know that, but it's not something that you hear in JPT or SP. No offense, those are great technical things, but the good old boys, they've been there too long.
And experiences, like way beyond anything you can learn in a classroom. And most of the shit that we do is not taught in a classroom anyway.
The best advice I ever got in the oil field was when I first got started. And, when I first got started, I was worried about the cyclical nature of our business, the ups and the downs. And
you might be a mathematician.
And I went to all the old guys that I first started working with and selling to. I said, tell me the secret to not going poor in the oil business. And this one guy looked at me, he said, Stewart, always live like you're poor. Yeah. That way you never have to worry about it. True. And it's absolutely true. I've never bought a $60,000 or a $70,000 truck. Jeremy,
me neither.
I don't live in a $500,000 house. I don't have expensive watches. I don't have any of that stuff. And you know what? I have never had to change my lifestyle in 14 years. I've lived exactly how I lived it when I first got in this business in 2009. And, it's something that served me well.
Yeah. Have you ever been laid off?
Same job for 14 years.
Oh, yeah. You said that earlier. I've been laid off. How about you? Probably
Oh yeah,
not.
I've been laid off.
Oh, yeah.
multiple-
Okay.
Oh, when you're in marketing, that's you're the first line item to go because all I do is spend money.
Well, here's the
And
deal.
that's it.
When I was starting at Halliburton, we in training, and I'm not trying to do the Halliburton meme thing where we're back at Halliburton. No, it's not like that at all. No, it's whenever I was going through training, one of our instructors told us that the further you get from the wellhead, the higher your chances of being laid off.
No, that's true. That's
100% true.
Yep.
And I ended up in sales, and so I got pretty far from the wellhead.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting laid off from Halliburton, but I think it was mostly because I wasn't respectful to my boss. Is why it really happened. Because one day I'm not going to use any names. This is anonymous here, but one day
this was like last week.
this was a long time ago. This was back in like 2008. But my boss came in, and I was a guy that just did my job. Like, I'm not a guy that does a lot of brown nosing. I'm not a guy that does a lot of bragging about what I do to my boss. I just do my job. And if you want to see my results, you look at my revenue and stuff.
Right.
Such. So my boss came in, and there was other people that were different than that, right? That not everybody had the same philosophy I did. And so my boss was in Oklahoma City, and I was in Tulsa. And so he didn't see directly exactly what it was that I do. So he came into my office one day, and he's like, "Hey, Lloyd, so everybody in the city's kind of wondering what exactly you do." And I said, "Well, I tell you what, you ever ask me that question again, you'll find out, because you're going to have to find somebody else to do it."
You're fired.
No, he didn't fire me immediately. He came back 3 months later with the HR lady, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this isn't going to be good."
This is not a good thing.
But you know what? I felt good because I said exactly what I wanted to say.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
And they did find out what it was that I did when I left. Let's just put it that way.
That typically.
Was that nothing?
No, they lost a lot of work.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. No, we'll get there. But actually, I don't know. Live audience, then you get heckled. Get some drunk lady that just keeps yelling shit out. I can usually be pretty insulting to people. So you just insult them more than they can even imagine insulting you, and they back down. But not much. I mean, honestly, I only got heckled like once or twice, and it was mostly just drunk people. They weren't even really trying to heckle me. They were just drunk.
I heckled Pauly Shore one day.
Did you really?
Yeah, he was playing at Hyenas in Fort Worth.
What'd you do to Pauly? Pauly's the greatest.
The Weasel, like 3 or 4 times, and finally he just stood up or didn't stand up. He just pointed at me. He goes, "That's enough."
The interesting thing about Pauly Shore is I didn't realize this until I watched like a documentary on HBO about the comedy place in New York.
Jerry Seinfeld and the rest of them.
That deal. His mom was the like.
Oh, I've heard this. Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I watched that. That was a very interesting documentary, though.
No, I think anybody, and you just ratcheted up a level in anybody who can give Pauly Shore shit for the Weasel is gold in my eyes.
I may have had a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
What did Lloyd say about just mostly drunk people heckle?
That's me.
Yeah,
it happens.
I mean, it's usually just some drunk chick that doesn't realize there's other people in the area or in the place, or that they're not the only person in the world, and they just yell shit out.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. So you're basically a drunk chick at a comedy show.
Well, we'll just keep my shirt on.
I never had anybody take their shirt off, unfortunately, at the comedy show.
One of the things thematically, we only have a few questions, but thematically, well, we don't even really have a few questions. Just kind of go with the flow. But so crazy stories in the oil field or in the oil business. We all have them. Stewart, what rises to the top for you?
I mean, so again, my perspective is from a sales guy working, specifically after the well is drilled, coming out of the ground. So, we don't have these crazy rig stories or people playing jokes or the V door key and all, and all that crap. We don't have that stuff. But I think probably, and of course I'm included in this story, was when I first went to work in the oil and gas business. I drove a Camry, a Toyota Camry, and I had, I didn't know.
Living like he's poor.
Yeah,
really
right.
good advice. Good advice.
Literally like the first couple of weeks,
Yeah.
And I went out to Midland, and I used to fly to Midland. I drive to Midland now because I have my truck and all my FRs and everything I need. And so I flew out to Midland, and even in 2010. I mean, it wasn't that busy, but Midland didn't really have a bunch of infrastructure that they have right now, including rental trucks.
Yeah.
So I fly out to Midland, had rented a rental truck, but of course I get there and they don't have any. So I'm thinking, what in the world am I going to do? Like I can't go out on these lease roads, in a,
You gotta get
whatever.
Crown Vic. You gotta get Crown Vic.
Yeah. So I got a taxi over to the U-Haul.
I thought you were gonna say you got a taxi to the well site. I was like, that's bad.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I got a taxi over to the U-Haul, and I picked up a U-Haul rent-a-truck.
That 1995 Reddit. I know the one you're talking about.
$19.95 a day. They
All
charge
day.
they charge you $1 a mile. So I charged up a nice $700 tab that week, but I drove a U-Haul truck for a week, and every single side I pulled up to, there were guys rolling on the ground.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, look how green this motherfucker is. This is unbelievable.
That's really funny.
And I mean, I got crap from guys that I still do business with 14 years later. They all know me as the
you make an
U-Haul.
impression. You pull up on a U-Haul.
Yeah, as a U-Haul guy.
Yeah.
So
That's funny.
You could have just got the big old one and just stayed in it.
So I'll tell you a story similar to the U-Haul story. So I used to drive I was a field guy, and then I was an office guy, and then I went back to the field as a consultant for a while. And when I went back to the field as a consultant, I had bought a Titan, a Nissan Titan, and that's a nice truck. I liked it.
That's a good truck.
Affordable, but it was 2-wheel drive, right? And so I go out and start working in the oil field again in my 2-wheel drive truck. And I'm the supervisor. I'm the consultant on location. And I pulled up on this location, and I swear to God, while we were there, it was early morning, mist on the ground, the dew.
Yeah.
I got stuck in the dew. I got stuck in the wet grass. Like it wasn't mud, it wasn't raining, wet grass, and I'm just over there burning it up. Florida. So I have to go talk to the company man, and I'm like, can I borrow the forklift? So I had to pull my stupid Titan out of the wet grass with a forklift. And when I was driving back to the hotel, I called my wife and I was like, hey, I'm getting a new truck. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, what's wrong with your truck? I was like, listen, you don't understand. Like tomorrow, you're going to find out what I bought, because I'm going to get a 4-wheel drive truck.
Like literally
And
the
I
next
got
day.
4-wheel drive that day, and I'll never have another 2-wheel drive vehicle. That was the most embarrassed. I mean, there was guys, nobody was helping. Everybody's just
they're laughing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just cursing and pulling my stupid 2-wheel drive truck out.
That
Unbelievable.
that awkwardness of first being in the oil business. So one of the first trade shows I ever did, gosh, I guess it was 2010, maybe in 2009, was the Midland Executive Oil Conference.
Yeah.
And so they've had this every year. It got bought by Hart several years ago, but it used to be a pretty small town local show. Anyway, I played golf in high school, varsity golf player in high school. So, just get in the oil business, decide that I'm going to sponsor, or I'm not even going to sponsor a team. I'm going to play on a golf team in the Midland Executive Oil Conference tournament. And so, I hadn't probably picked up a club in 4 or 5 years, but thinking, I might be able to, at least squeeze by. So anyway, I show up. We're at Midland Country Club in Midland, Texas. I show up. I don't have a partner because one's been assigned to me.
Right.
And, so I go out there. I go jump in my cart, and I look at the names. I see Stewart Royal. I see this name, Kevin Boskamp. I was like, I don't know any Kevin Boskamp. I wonder if anybody else does. This guy, Kevin, comes out, puts his clubs on there, looks at me. Stu, who are you? I introduce myself. Kevin, well, tell me about your background. He goes, I'm a professional golf player. And I thought, boy, this is going to be a really long day. So we go out to the first tee.
You're paying on the golf.
I heard about this, about the ringers.
Yeah, I go out there, first tee. I go out there.
It was a scramble, right? Please tell me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we still got nowhere near the top. So I take my first swing, whiff. And I think, okay, and Kevin's like kind of laugh. And he's like, don't worry about Stu. Chill out. Take it easy.
Relax.
Yeah, relax. I take my second swing and whiff again. I mean, just absolutely miss it. And that's when Kevin looked at me. He said, Stewart, there's only one cure for this. And he looked at the cart girl, said, we'll have 2 double tall Crown and Cokes for each one of us. And after that, the rest of the day went great.
Yeah, swinging loose.
Oh yeah.
It was after that I realized I was only going to sponsor golf teams,
Yeah.
not actually play in them.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
I hate golf. I really do. When I was at one of my previous jobs, my boss actually paid for me to take golf lessons because he's like, "Look, Lloyd, you got to learn how to play golf if you're going to be a salesman, because everybody wants to go do deals on the golf course."
That's right.
Well, I don't want to do deals with those guys. I want to do deals with the guys that like to fish and shoot stuff.
There you go.
But
There you go.
no, I suck at golf. But the good news is most everybody does.
But you hear these stories from every golf player, and I'm a shit golf player. Like I understand the game, I have a good respect for it, but I'm terrible. And so you meet a buddy, you're like, "Hey, Stewart, let's go play golf." I'm like, "I'm terrible," and every golfer will say, "Oh, I am too. I am too." Until I get out there, they're like, "No, you really are fucking terrible. You are fucking horrible,
You should not.
and we want you to go home."
Yeah,
And
you
so
should leave now.
I have
Drive the cart, please.
Where's the drink girl? Go find
I,
the drink
I
girl.
have another friend that he started working for I think MI Swaco, and they gave him a choice. They said, "Well, son, you could either golf or shoot. Which is it
Shoot.
gonna be?" And he took
Shoot.
shooting. He's
That wouldn't even be a question. I don't know why you're asking me about this. Shoot, I'm the shooter.
He's like, "Because we've got golfers or salesmen, we got shooters, and so you're gonna shoot." But no, I love to shoot clays. That's kind of my sweet spot. I'm still terrible at that, but I feel a lot better when I do
I
it.
tell you what, I'm gonna give a shout. Sorry, Stuart.
Very good.
I'm gonna give a shout out to the Toby Keith Foundation. They put on one of the best shoots I've ever been to. Last
Really?
year. Oh my God, it was amazing. The charity was for the Toby Keith Foundation.
Right.
They have a hospital across the street, or a place across the street from the hospital, the cancer center, where people's family can stay, no charge. People that need
Oh, that's awesome.
that,
Yeah.
whatever. And so they did their first annual tournament last year at I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the course out. It's west of Oklahoma City. The best course, the best shoot I've ever been a part of.
Really?
It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to meet Toby Keith. I got a picture with
Really?
him and everything. Yeah.
Hell of a deal.
Yeah, it was a great.
Well, Toby, if you're listening, we want you on the podcast.
Come on, Toby. No, he was extremely gracious to everyone that came to the deal. He handed out the prizes and stuff.
That's
and
awesome.
It was a wonderful event. So if you see ads for that, I recommend. I want it to be like the next big shoot, like everybody goes to. They gave away great prizes. It was a wonderful course, so it was amazing.
Well, good deal. Good deal.
And out in West Texas, I mean, it's really moved away from golf.
Yeah,
It's almost
yeah.
all shooting now.
Yep.
So, I mean, if anybody's listening to this and is worried that like, God, I got to play golf.
No,
Now, but you better learn how to shoot.
get yourself a shotgun.
You better learn how to be likable.
You don't have to go too deep. You can get $1,000 and you're in good shape. And
Or just rent one from the shooting
or
range.
from the
Or
shooting
just
range.
borrow
Fine, too.
I've had
There's usually
let people shoot with my gun. I don't care.
Yeah. No, my wife and I organized the SPE one here in Houston each year for
Because
golf section.
It was a very good shoot as well.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
did. Lloyd
Jeremy,
was there,
but
and it was
it was not as good as the Toby Keith shoot.
true.
But it was good. It was good.
I didn't even hand out the prizes, and I'm not as good as SPE. But what's great about that shoot though is that I mean it's just a lot of good folks having fun, and it doesn't matter if you've never shot or if you're avid. And some of these guys will roll in with $40,000 guns, but you don't need it. You can have it if you want, but it's better to just kind of go in and shoot. Lloyd shot with the gun he's been shooting with since
I was 8 years old.
8 years old. I was
8 years old. My dad gave it to me when I was 8.
870 Wingmaster or what?
It's a Remington. I don't even know what it is. It's like a Remington.
might be an
800 or
yeah,
something.
so yeah.
It's an automatic that he got at Walmart, and I've been shooting it since I was 8. And these guys show up with their Benellis and they're changing chokes. They're like, "What kind of choke you got in that?" I'm like, "Fuck, I don't know, a full choke, whatever the barrel is. It's not got any chokes in it."
This
And
thing don't
I
come
shoot
with
well.
chokes. Yeah.
Yeah, I shoot well.
So
I mean, and one of my good friends, Tom Reddington. Shout out to Tom if he's watching. I doubt it, but Tom,
not yet.
Tom calls it the grease gun because I don't even clean the thing. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
spray it down with gun oil. And so if you're standing in my ejection path whenever I'm shooting it, you're gonna get dirty because it's just slings grease. I don't know what kind of bug that is. It looks like a mosquito.
I don't know whose idea was to come out at night, but it happened.
Well, then let's
don't
get
think
some
it was
lights.
anybody's
Our grease
idea.
will fill up with moths.
It was Becca's idea. Said, "Well, we don't have till 5, so
Becca,
Shit,
that doesn't work here.
Location.
She's like,
The
according to the
infamous
internet, according to the internet, they don't open till 5.
I don't know if Becca exists. We're pretty.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
pretty
like, "Oh,
sure-
you can get there early, and we'll go ahead and let you in."
I'm pretty sure
somebody
we're gonna
let us in
We're gonna
early.
do an interview someday with what's his name that brought us out for steak night that night, and he's like,
Jeff, yeah.
we're gonna talk to Jeff, and he's like, well, Jeff, what was the best oil field prank? He's like, the fact that I got you
Whatever,
fuckers here
convinced
to
you
eat
guys
steak
that
night.
lady was the manager.
You've
He's like,
you've increased our business
"You've
by
been living it for your first 5 episodes.
That is really funny. It could be true. It could definitely be true.
I want to get back to this hospitality business because that was actually a very interesting time. I'll tell a quick story and I'll let Stella. And Stewart was actually there. And so again, we talked about the
it
hospitality.
wasn't my room, was it?
It was not your room. We were on our way to go. It was like after everything was shut down, and I can't remember what year it was. But we were hanging out with a few people, and we were going to go upstairs to give you an idea of how crazy this event can get. It's just kind of a shit show, and so we're going. At one point, somebody's like, "Hey, let's go upstairs. I got some cards. Let's go play some cards upstairs." And IHS girls, and so we're heading to the elevator, and
Women.
yeah, sorry. If anybody from IHS is absolutely women, and anyway, so we're heading upstairs, and we're heading around the corner to go up to the elevator, and as we round the corner, there's this guy, just completely gray hair. He must have been 60 plus, and he's completely just he's out on the floor, fully laid out on the floor, passed out. We don't know if he's drunk. We don't know if he's dead. So a couple things happen, and so we're like, shit, what do we do? And we had a good time that night. So a couple things happen. We do a quick check of the pulse. We're like, okay, he's good.
Not dead.
We all take out cell phones, take some pics, put a little pillow under his head. We go upstairs and play some cards. And that was it. It was it.
Was
I
he
think
there when you came back, or he had moved on?
I have no idea.
No,
have no
I think he
recollection.
actually came back down to our hospitality room.
He might have gone.
I'm almost absolutely
I need
sure
to
of
go
it.
to I've never been to this Cayuga thing. I need to go to that.
I
It's
mean,
a different type of event.
you need to go.
Is it invite only? Do I have to get invite?
No, well, I have a hospitality booth, so you've been invited.
Okay, I'm invited. Excited. We're
I'm
gonna
sure-
be there. When is it? Next year? Is it done?
September.
August, September.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
So
birthday's in September.
there you go. We'll come up and
Yeah.
celebrate your birthday. You're
Yeah.
2.5 hours away from Tulsa. It'll be
You're so
perfect. Yeah.
close.
No, it's actually it's a really great event. One of the things that they do really well is it's a great turnout, but it is one of these reunion types of shows where you'll see people you don't see all year, and it's outstanding, and you meet a lot of friends and you get to hang out, and it's super fun.
And Jeremy talks about, all these good times that we have, with or without alcohol. But the reality of it is it's a great way to get to know people
True.
on
True.
a very personal level where you're kind of taken out of this. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this.
Yep.
Where it's everybody just hanging out. I mean, my favorite thing was we would do coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Coffee
yeah,
and
yeah.
Danishes in the morning so that those that didn't want to drink could come down, have a cup of coffee, have a Danish, relax in between sessions. And, I mean, it's just a very good environment for that type of thing. And you don't see that in a lot of these trade shows anymore.
No.
I mean, to me, the trade show world, while valuable and beneficial, just lacks that ability to personally connect
Yeah.
Right.
with
Right.
other customers, other operators, and that.
I can tell you the friends that I've met in Stewart's room and other rooms, and even the room that I had this time. Especially in sales, you talk about like generating business. I've made calls the next day, and after everybody kind of gets past it, they'll answer my calls, and I've done a lot of work out of things like that. And it's, I get accused a lot. It's like, you just want to throw a party, and I always do, but there's legit business going on there.
Yeah, but my favorite conference every year, I've never been to this one, but I love HFTC.
Oh, that's a good one.
HFTC
coming
what
up.
is that? Hydraulic Fracturing Technical
3 weeks
Conference.
out,
It's it's coming up in 3 weeks. Yeah,
We're actually going to be broadcasting live from there. I'm
Are
working
we?
with. I'm working with Baker Street, and we haven't confirmed anything yet. But if you've been and you're watching, we're going to try to be at Baker Street during HFTC. We'll watch for the details.
I'm excited.
I
so
might have to
excited
be
about
making
that.
another trip to Houston.
Yeah, come on out. HFTC is
Brought to you
it's a
by
really great
Expanse.
conference. But I don't know if the logbooks are going to be enough to get access to the party though.
So
still.
if you don't know what HFTC, what Lloyd's talking about is the hydraulic fracturing
Fracturing
Technology Conference.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's oil field's a small world, but hydraulic fracturing is an even smaller world. But everybody's there, and people even who aren't in hydraulic fracturing are there. Probably the best, most and technically sound. But man, you're going to meet a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of fun times. There's I have several clients that are throwing parties, but then there's also just a lot of really good, interesting stuff going on. So,
Oh yeah, the papers that are presented, the sessions. I mean, the whole thing. The exhibit yard. Everything. Every year, I've been every year since like 2004 or something.
Yep.
And it's one that I don't miss every year. It's a really good conference.
Yep.
So,
So you're a TCU guy. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
horny frogs. Horny toads?
Or do you not want to?
Yeah, that was a heartbreaking loss. I got my undergrad degree from A&M in 97, degree in geography. Interestingly enough, thought I was going to be a professor, and soon realized that I don't have the ability to write or research. So that wasn't going
Those are
to work.
important if you're going to be a professor.
Right.
Definitely.
I didn't realize that.
But he managed to find 1886 Humble Backyard, which is good. So that's promising.
Yeah, I mean,
Google Maps is your friend.
I still don't know how to put a pin on anything. So
I, after working a couple of years in environmental and geotechnical engineering, I went to the CEO of my company and said, I need to do something different. I can't get paid $18 an hour for the rest of my life. He offered to put me through engineering school and get my PE eventually. And I looked at what those guys made at the time and decided I needed to find something else to do. And so I applied to TCU in 2000 and got my MBA in business from TCU. And I was the only person out of 68 people in my class that had a specific purpose of getting into sales from getting my master's degree. And it was the best decision I ever made. Opened up so many doors for somebody that had no business background, no sales background, and got me to where I am today.
Did you find it? Did you find the MBA helped? Like, you find it like it? Like
Absolutely.
Really?
And let me tell you why. Not because of
maybe why I'm so shitty at business.
well,
This is true.
well, and maybe not for sales, but so the one thing it does do is it gives you the fundamentals of how business works.
Right.
The accounting, the finance part, and even to a lesser degree, the marketing part, the
Right.
4 Ps,
Right.
so you understand all that so that when you do go talk to a customer, you understand those issues that they're dealing with
Gotcha.
outside of, just talking to them of, oh yeah, this breaks all the time, I need it fixed.
Right.
But trying to understand when it like comes to LOE versus an AFE, understanding the difference between a capital budget and another budget.
Right.
So those things are damn helpful.
Yeah.
And more importantly for me, just having those credentials showed people that I was willing to quit my job, go back to school, get a degree, and it made a huge difference.
All right.
Well, good job.
Right
Good
on,
advice. Good advice from Steve.
Career advice from me.
Yeah, career advice from
Who would have
Stu.
thought? Who would have thought?
I can tell you
No
this,
one.
though. I'm kind of along the lines of what Stu was saying. I'm not a real engineer. I'm an industrial engineer. They called us imaginary engineers at K-State. But I
like
imagine I
Disney,
make
you're
a
the
lot more money
Imagineer.
than anybody else that graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. That's a joke. That's a joke. It's true, but
It's a case of joke, especially, which I like.
but yeah, I mean, industrial engineering is kind of the same thing. It's industrial engineering is not real engineering. Like you do some science and stuff, but you're mostly focused on business stuff. It's kind of like an MBA, like a low class, it's not real. I mean, it's not a master's, but it's a bachelor's in business essentially. But it does make you think about things differently because you focus a lot on logistics and manufacturing, like a lot of lean manufacturing stuff, Kanban, Kanban type stuff, the red lights, green lights, blue lights.
And you say agile, I'm gonna fucking murder you.
Yeah, you got it. I'm not gonna say agile. I'm gonna say synergy. I'm gonna say ergonomic.
This partnership may go south quick.
Yeah, let's go south quick. I hated
I see what you're
ergonomics.
saying.
My ergonomics professor hated me. So I'm in class one day and she pulls out this little stubby screwdriver and she was like some sort of Middle Eastern lady, and she's like, what could you do with this? You could do nothing with this. This is not ergonomic. And I'm like, that's the only way you could change a fuel filter on an M1A1 tank because no other screwdriver will fit in the hole where you got to get. And she's like, but it's not ergonomic. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. There's only one way to change a fuel filter on an M1 tank, and it's with that little stubby screwdriver that you're insulting right there.
That little Craftsman's. I know the one you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was the thing I hated about ergonomics because ergonomics is great. But
Yeah.
everybody, it's kind of like what's going on with the world today. Like everybody wants to take everything and fit it into one box. You know what I mean? Like ergonomics and industrial engineering and all that stuff. It's fantastic if you're on an assembly line. If you're making Model T Fords
Right.
for Henry Ford, you can implement every one of those aspects. If you're working on oil field equipment in the oil field while you're trying to get the stage done, you throw all that shit out the window because you got to get it done. And so you don't have to have, you know, a back brace and everything so that you're perfectly standing neutral while you're doing all your work. You just got to work, you know.
Hey! He got a real long reach in the derrick when he leans. He been all around the world on the big old rigs with the welders and the trucks on the black gold rush and the diesel burning cat motors growling in the mud. You better hire him on. He's the roughest neck around. He got the power in his hands to pull the dragons from the ground. Yeah. 35 below or it's 98 above, and he's working through it all, cause baby, this is what he loves. Drives 150 miles, make sure his kids are doing fine, and he sees them when he can, but he's married to his iron. You better hire him on. He's the roughest neck around. He got the power in his hands. He's pulling dragons from the ground. Yeah. He's a good hand to have on, and he's throwing on the tongue, spinning chain and sliding high side all night long, and he's tripping in his pipe, and he torques it good and tight, and you gotta figure it, he's got his mud weight right. You better hire him on, cause he's better than the rest. He got the power in his hands and the dragons in his chest. Yeah. Pull the dragons from the ground. Yeah, you better hire him on, cause he's better than the rest. He got the power in his heart and the dragons in his chest. Yeah.